right, check the time. It is 6 minutes gone past the 9, and welcome to the show, our Sports Spring on Western Spring Television. My name is Joseph Atewa saying good morning. There is so much to talk about on the show this morning, most especially the most powerful competition in the world when it comes to sports, and that's the UEFA Champions League.
And it was a blockbuster yesterday at the Santiago Bernabeu as Vini Jr. and Kevin De Bruyne traded magnificent goal to end that game between Real Madrid and Manchester City in a 1-1 draw. Now, in the local scene, we also know that the Nigerian Women Football League Premiership Super 6 has gotten a new date for kickoff. Now, more of the stories and analysis coming your way. I am Nengi Ernest Ademola. Thanks for joining us.
Let's start from the local scene as usual. We understand that the organizers of the Nigerian Women's Football League, the NWFL, has announced the new dates for the playoff round of the league. The playoff round is designed to determine the winner of the league and the representative of the country in the WAFL B Women's Champions League qualifier. This year's playoff was initially slated to hold in May, but the organizer decided to shift the date due to some circumstances. The football body on Tuesday announced the 9th to the 16th of June 2023 as the date of the playoff, and the venue remains Asaba at Delta State. Rivers Angels, Confluence Queens, Edo Queens, FC Robo Queens, Delta Queens, and the defending champions Bayelsa Queens are the teams that will participate in the events.
And of course, we do understand that if this particular event had started on May 5th, which was the initial kickoff date, before it suffered postponement, definitely we would have been going to towards the end of the Super 6. But according to what is written here, they said this year's playoff was initially slated to hold in May, but the organizers decided to shift the date due to some circumstance. Of course, we all know that those circumstances were surrounded about the fact that most of these players that ply their trade in most especially these teams who have qualified for the Super 6 also play for the under-20, and definitely they wanted to go for a competition which will also begin by June. That's for the WAFL B Women's Championship Cup. But it's a good thing that we now have a new date, and definitely we're looking towards that one. And we wish all of the qualified teams for the Super 6 all the best. Let's see who next will represent us for the CAF Women's Champions League.
And still talking league football, Nigeria Premier Football League, the NPFL stakeholders and followers have been promised season-ending matches that will consolidate on the games made so far by the reforms instituted by the Interim Management Committee. The IMC was mandated at the inauguration to ensure a clean-up for the NPFL and make it competitive, attractive, to corporate support and aligned to the international football calendar. The head of operations at the IMC, Davison Owumi, spoke during an internal review session and said a part of plans in place to achieve a season best, so that's the season ends on a high, is the setting up of an intensive monitoring team that would be at all venues. I talk about the final day matches.
Exactly. And against the background of possible compromises of games, it said the IMC is not leaving anything to chance, and it is working with relevant match security agencies, the club administrators, the Nigerian referees, and also the NFF. And I think it's a good one and a nice one being put in place in order to avoid casualties, in order to avoid any form of match manipulation when it comes to the very end days. And the remaining games are slated to hold in different match centers in Nigeria for the NPFL. And of course, I think it's a good one.
Yes, it's a good one, but I hope one day, they say step by step, but I hope one day we'll go past this level of inaugurating committee to see we ensure smooth running games at the final day, because look at leagues across Europe, no matter the fixture, everything is put in place. But we understand,
if at all there is a committee, it's the committee in which they've been able to get at the beginning of any season. That is the same committee that runs everything throughout.
Yeah, I understand your angle, but then funny enough, there's never a committee. It's the FA, and the FA knows that they have a responsibility, which is to deliver a clean league, clean in the sense that a league that at the end of the season will be adjudged to at least have been the best across Europe or all over the world. But in Nigeria, what we get is we are appointing members to form a committee to watch out, to be on the lookout, so we can have a safe league. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that we hope that we'll grow from here, and won't be having to read such a news that they've inaugurated a committee to ensure that the final day will be a smooth one. That's a disgrace and a huge setback.
Also, Joseph, they talked about the fact that they need to engage security intelligence unit just because of the the remaining 3 matches of the NPFL Abridged League. This is something they are supposed to have done right from the start of the season in order to avoid violence, in order to avoid most of these sanctions that are being meted out on some of the NPFL club. But we find out that probably maybe they take more cognizance of the remaining part of the league, owing to the fact that fans have come out to talk about the fact that definitely in the remaining 3 games there might be manipulations of some kind of sort. But just like you've rightly stated, Joseph, we do hope that at the end of the day would grow out of this particular stage in which we find ourselves.
And yes, we must also give kudos to the IMC. Don't forget that the LMC was disbanded and was tagged illegal. So the IMC had to come in and step in to ensure that we'll have a smooth league led by Legbeleye, and that is what we're having at the moment. But I duly understand as well that based on past antecedents with what has happened in the past, I spoke about the NLO at some point where a team needed 32 goals to remain in the league and they scored 36 goals. The total goals they had scored prior to that game was only 15, and in one single game they scored 36 goals rather. And it baffles you how that is even possible. But the good news is that they're behind bars. I'm sure they're still serving that prison sentence. Talking about those who organized that ugly game we witnessed years ago. So that is what they don't want, because we know some teams at this point need the points to remain in the league. So they will be desperate. They would try to bribe the referees, and that is what the IMC is trying to do.
Avoid, exactly. And they're still talking about the Nigerian Premier Football League playoffs. Akinade Onigbinde, the head coach of the newly promoted Nigerian Premier Football League side, that's Doma United, has insisted they can still get one of the playoff spots in Group B. Now, despite making their debut in the elite division, Doma United has proved all bookmakers wrong by contesting for the available spots in the group. Now, the coach made a statement after they were held to a goalless draw by Rangers International of Enugu on Monday 17. That's match day 17 rather of the season. Now, according to his words, it is not the result we wanted, but there's nothing we can do about it now that the game is over. But we're not giving up yet until it's over. The only thing now is that we have to work harder than expected, he said this. Now, with 1 match day remaining in the regular season, Doma United is in 3rd place in Group B with 26 points. They are 2 points ahead of 4th and 5th place Sunshine Stars and Abia Warriors. Of course, Doma United at the very beginning of the season, they were, it was nothing to write home about concerning their performances. But I think they were one of the clubs that were given a 3-match, 2-match ultimatum, and they did step up to the game.
Well, they are newbies in the Nigerian Professional Football League, and as expected, it was going to be a battle. They were going to rival some of the big boys who have been in the league for a very long time. It happens all over the world. Look at newbies when they're promoted even into the Premier League. The first 10 games, they have to adjust. They have to struggle. They have to grind out result by all means. And so that is what Doma did. But then they went back to the drawing board, looked at the loopholes and where they could correct their mistakes, and that they did. And they did set the target that, see, we know we can win the league, but let's remain in this league. Next season, we'll be able to attract players and compete better with the big boys, and that is what they've done. So kudos to the hierarchies at Doma United. And still talking about club football here, Nengi. Let's talk about the Federations Cup. This says the former champions Enyimba FC of Aba and Plateau United of Jos will create fireworks at the Samuel Ogbamudia Stadium in Benin City in the round of 32 match of this year's Federations Cup, the men's competition on Wednesday, which is today.
Exactly, and the People's Elephant squeezed through to the stage after a nail-biting penalty shootout against Rivers United in Uyo, and now have to confront an ambitious Plateau United looking to match all the way to the grand finale. Now, at the NFF FIFA Goal Project in Abuja, multi-titleist Rangers International of Enugu will do battle with Kano Pillars, while the Sani Abacha Stadium, Kano plays host to the potential explosive encounter between Mighty Jets of Jos and Gombe United FC. Now, a total of 16 matches will be disputed in the men's category, all scheduled for Wednesday, while 7 matches will be played in the women's competition, with Bayelsa Queens having reached the last 8 without kicking a ball, following the unfortunate accident involving opponents, Dana's Ladies. Meanwhile, in Lokoja, Nasarawa Amazons, one of the establishments, will clash with Nigeria Tales of FCT in a match slated for Thursday as the 6 other matches in women's competition. Of course, you look at from the ladies' angle, you see Nasarawa Amazons, you see Nigeria Tales, of course, doing what they have to do best. And for Bayelsa Queens, they haven't kicked a ball since, and which has given them enough, of course, enough time to be able to take over their opponent. And as for Eyimba FC, I think they're firing all cylinders, being able to knock out, what's their name now, Rivers United out of the Federation Cup based on penalty. They take on their next opponent. I mean, can they do better?
Well, one thing I admire about the FA Cup, that's the Federation's Cup, is that it exposes players. We've even seen that in England, where a team from Division 2 will come and beat a team who is playing their trade in the main league, that's the Premier League. So as I said, it exposes player. Ahmed Musa at some point was playing for a non-league club, I think, and was discovered right there in Kano, the heart of Kano, when he went to play against Kano Pillars, and he was picked. And today the story is different for Ahmed Musa. So it goes beyond if it's Eyimba, if it's Mighty Jets, if it's one other club. The exposure this competition gives to these players is a lot. And that is why you have more fans attend matches like these than you have on a normal day. Check it. If you have a Mighty Jets versus Kano Pillars, you see the local fans troop out to come watch these games because first the tickets have been sold at a little price of 200, 300 just to accommodate these guys. And, you know, they have their local heroes. Ahmed was a local hero then. I was discovered, as I said earlier, the case is different. So that's the beauty of the Federation's Cup. You can also say the same thing about Gift Monday. These girls were also discovered on the street. So that is what it does to these guys.
And of course, you talk about Eyimba FC in the NPFL. Definitely, they are vying for a pole position to be able to compete in the Super 6 competition for the NPFL. So definitely, this serves as a ground-breaking one of the matches, definitely to be able to pivot them into that one. Now, let's talk about the Under-17 AFCON, Joseph.
Yes, Nigeria's Under-17 boys, the Golden Eaglets, have not come as far as the quarterfinals of the African Cup of Nations to be dumped out of the competition without earning a World Cup ticket, says head coach Unduka Igbade. The Golden Eaglet and their officials arrived in Algiers, the capital city of Algeria, on Monday, 3 days ahead of the quarterfinal clash with Burkina Faso's the Young Etalons at the Nelson Mandela Stadium. We had an interesting match with South Africa. It has prepared us well for further challenges in the competition. We learned a lot playing Zambia, Morocco and South Africa, all strong teams in the group phase, and what was good for us to be a better squad. Now, Burkina Faso had an interesting last match of the group phase, coming from behind to defeat and dump out cup holders Cameroon 2-1 in a truly fascinating encounter. So the Golden Eaglets have a tough one in their hands.
And I think the very thing to pick out of Nduka Ogbade's press conference was the fact that he said, we have not come this far to drop out. My boys are focused hard on the World Cup ticket, and after that we can then focus on other objectives. So definitely the first thing first, because they were able to reach a quarterfinals, is to pick up this ticket, and after that definitely they would want to adjust to being able to win the Under-17 AFCON. Of course, they've done this several times. So you talk about the world champion 5 times, and definitely they will be able to do this against some of the counterparts. Now, let's also remind you that the match between Nigeria and Burkina Faso begins at 8 p.m. on Thursday, and victory over the Young Etalons will earn Nigeria the opportunity to go for a record extending 6th FIFA Under-17 World Cup title. And definitely we also did make mention of the fact that the Burkina Faso coach is also talking tough about this clash, because I mean, you cannot come from the very first game, second game, and you want to lose out without getting the World Cup ticket. So that's the aim and the objective for each and every of this team, and we do wish the Golden Eaglets all the best.
All right, so because of time, let's look at the Flying Eagles, where because the Dominican Republic have released a 21-man squad. Exactly.
Now, the Flying Eagles also being prepared for this one in particular, you know, after not even getting what they actually wanted for the Under-20 AFCON. So the Flying Eagles will fly from Buenos Aires to Mendoza, venue of Nigeria's first 2 matches against the Dominican Republic and Italy on Wednesday, 17th of May, 2023. Now, the head coach Issa Landan Boso and his assistants on Monday evening drilled the Nigerian Under-20 boys Flying Eagles in their first training session since arriving the Argentine capital, that's Buenos Aires, on Sunday. Now, the session which took place at the team's Howard Johnson Hotel and Resorts lasted for 90 minutes and concentrated on recovery after the long trip from Nigeria to South American nation through Turkey. Now, the team had another training session on Tuesday, which was yesterday, as focus gradually shifts to a friendly match against the under-20 team of Colombia, which has been scheduled for the Tristan Suarez Stadium in Buenos Aires on I think this was held. Okay, this is going to be held on Tuesday, 16th May at 4 p.m. Argentina time, while that is 8 p.m. Nigeria time. And Colombia will play in Group C of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup alongside African champions Senegal, Japan, and Israel. Will seek the opportunity to have an idea of what to expect against the club Lions of the Teranga, which when both teams clash in La Plata on Saturday, 27th of May. Definitely gives each and every of this team heads up of what to expect when they take on their very real opponents.
And don't forget that the Dominican Republic has released their 21-man squad, and they say it's the killer squad. They take on two-time finalist Nigeria in some days. We can't wait to see what the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, which will be taking place in Argentina, will bring to the table. All right, that's it on the local scene. We need to go to break here and give you highlights from matches played yesterday. Heaven will fall next week when Manchester City lock horns with Real Madrid once again to what will be the decider, what may be the decider of who clinches the UEFA Champions League this season. But we'll also be talking about the 2 million clubs who has risen from the ashes. Same club, same stadium, same football fans, same city. Expect fireworks tonight. We'll be back.